Imagine someone insulting you right now, calling you worthless, mocking everything you stand for. Feel that burn inside? That urge to strike back? What if I told you that in exactly 7 minutes, you could become completely immune to disrespect? Forever? Stop letting others control your emotions. Stop giving strangers the power to ruin your day with a few careless words. The wisdom I'm about to share has transformed kings and beggars alike for thousands of years. Yet most people will never discover it because they're too busy fighting battles they cannot win. Look around you. See those people constantly offended, constantly defending their honor? They're trapped in a prison they built themselves. But you're about to receive the key that unlocks the door. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about discovering a strength so profound that no one, absolutely no one, will ever be able to truly disrespect you again. Not because you'll control them, but because you'll master something far more powerful, yourself. The first secret lies in understanding the incredible power of non-reaction. And to show you exactly how this works, let me take you to a peaceful village where a lesson is about to unfold that could change your life forever. In a peaceful village nestled between rolling hills, a wise master lived simply in a small hut. Every day, villagers would visit him seeking advice and wisdom. The master was known for his unshakable calm and the respect he commanded without ever demanding it. One day, a man from a neighboring village arrived, having heard of the master's reputation. This visitor was angry about many things in his life and doubted anyone could truly remain peaceful in the face of disrespect. He approached the master while he was meditating under a tree. "They say you are wise," the visitor shouted, "but I think you're just a fool who has tricked everyone." He continued hurling insults, his face red with anger, waiting for the master to react. The master simply sat there, his expression unchanged, his breathing steady. After several minutes of unanswered insults, the visitor grew confused. "Are you deaf? Did you not hear me insulting you?" he demanded. The master opened his eyes and spoke gently. "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" "To the giver, of course," replied the confused visitor. "Exactly," smiled the master. "You offered me the gift of your anger and insults, but I did not accept them. They remain with you." The visitor stood speechless, suddenly seeing how he had been carrying his own pain and attempting to pass it to others. In that moment, he understood the first secret of never being disrespected. When we don't react to provocation, the cycle breaks. The master explained further that our ego feeds the cycle of disrespect. When we identify strongly with others' opinions of us, we give away our power. Every reaction shows that their words have control over our peace. The master taught that practicing mindful silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the difference between being passive, which means accepting mistreatment, and being non-reactive, which means choosing not to engage with negativity. The visitor sat down under the tree, his anger dissolving as he began to understand this simple but profound teaching. True respect begins when the opinions of others no longer shake your inner foundation. Now that you understand the power of not reacting to insults, let's explore the second secret that will shield you from disrespect forever. Building true self-worth that doesn't depend on what others think of you. Many people are like empty vessels, constantly needing to be filled with praise and approval from others. When that approval doesn't come, they feel worthless. But this approach leaves your happiness in everyone else's hands. There's a story about a powerful emperor who ruled vast lands. Despite his wealth and authority, he couldn't sleep at night. His mind was always racing, wondering what his advisors, servants, and subjects thought of him. Did they truly respect him, or were they merely pretending because of his position? One day, the emperor heard about a wise master living simply in the mountains. People spoke of this master's unshakable peace and genuine happiness. The emperor, dressed in plain clothes to hide his identity, journeyed to meet him. When the emperor arrived, he found the master sitting by a stream, smiling contentedly while mending a worn robe. The emperor was puzzled. How could someone with so few possessions seem so fulfilled? "Master," the emperor said, "I rule an entire kingdom, yet I cannot find peace. Everyone bows to me, but I never know if they truly respect me or just fear my power. How do you seem so content when you have nothing?" The master looked up with kind eyes. "I have everything I need because I don't need what I don't have." The emperor frowned, not understanding. "Let me ask you something," the master continued. "If you hold up a mirror and see no reflection, is the problem with you or with the mirror?" "With the mirror, of course," replied the emperor. "Exactly. Yet, when others fail to reflect back the respect you think you deserve, you blame yourself rather than realizing their opinions are merely imperfect mirrors. Some mirrors are cracked, some are dusty, and some are not mirrors at all but windows looking somewhere else entirely." The emperor sat beside the master, beginning to understand. "We seek validation from others because we haven't learned to value ourselves," the master explained. "From childhood, we're taught that our worth comes from outside, from grades, compliments, achievements, and the approval of others. But this creates a hunger that can never be fully satisfied. How do I break free from this need?" asked the emperor. "Start by recognizing that your value isn't something others give to you. It's your birthright. Just as a diamond doesn't become more or less valuable based on who's looking at it, your worth doesn't change based on others' opinions." The master taught the emperor 4 simple practices to build unshakable self-worth. First, to speak to himself with the same kindness he would show a dear friend. Second, to acknowledge his strengths and accomplishments each day, however small. Third, to accept his imperfections as natural parts of being human, rather than flaws that diminished his value. And fourth, to practice compassion toward himself during difficult moments instead of harsh judgment. "These aren't just nice ideas," the master said. "They're practical tools that will transform how you see yourself. When you truly value yourself, others' disrespect becomes nothing more than noise in the wind. You'll hear it, but it won't touch your core." The emperor practiced these teachings faithfully. Gradually, his need for constant approval faded. He noticed that, ironically, as he became less concerned with gaining respect, people seemed to respect him more genuinely, not for his title, but for the authentic person he had become. The lesson was clear. True self-worth creates a foundation that disrespect cannot shake. When you fill your own cup, instead of asking others to fill it for you, you'll never go thirsty again. Now that we've learned about non-reaction and building genuine self-worth, let's explore the third secret to never being disrespected again: the art of transforming criticism into something valuable. Most people either get crushed by criticism or become defensive. But what if criticism could actually help you grow stronger? What if you could turn these painful moments into stepping stones? In a village famous for its beautiful pottery, there lived a master craftsman. His work was sought after by people from far and wide. What made him special wasn't just his skill, but how he handled feedback about his creations. One day, a young apprentice came to study with him. The master gave the apprentice a simple task: to make a teacup and show it to 10 different people in the village marketplace. "Write down everything they say about your cup," instructed the master. "Don't argue or explain, just listen and record their words." The apprentice worked hard on his cup, feeling proud of his creation. But at the marketplace, the responses weren't what he expected. "The handle is too small," said a merchant. "The color is dull," commented an elderly woman. "It's too heavy," noted a tea server. "The rim is uneven," pointed out a fellow potter. Some people were kind in their delivery, others were harsh. By the end of the day, the apprentice returned to the master with slumped shoulders and a list full of criticisms. "No one liked my cup," he said sadly. I should just give up. The master smiled gently. Spread out your notes on the table, he instructed. The apprentice did as he was told, laying out all the comments. Now, cross out any criticism given with cruelty rather than care, said the master. The apprentice crossed out several comments that had been delivered with mockery or spite. Next, cross out any that contradict each other. The apprentice noticed that one person said the cup was too thick, while another said it was too thin. He crossed these out too. Now, from what remains, circle the comments that could help you make a better cup. Looking at the remaining notes, the apprentice circled several practical suggestions about the handle shape, the balance of the cup, and the glaze technique. You see, said the master, criticism is like ore from the ground. In its raw form, it's just rough rock. But if you know how to process it, you can extract precious metal while discarding the worthless stone. The master explained that criticism falls into 3 categories. Some is valuable and points to real areas for growth. Some is about the critic's personal preferences and has nothing to do with you. And some is simply an expression of the critic's own pain or limitations. The art, said the master, is learning to filter what's useful from what's not. Never reject all criticism, for you'll miss opportunities to improve. But never accept all criticism either, for you'll be pulled in conflicting directions. The apprentice learned to listen to criticism with a calm mind, asking himself, is there something here I can use to grow? If yes, he would thank the person and apply the lesson. If no, he would thank them anyway and let their words float away like leaves on a stream. The master also taught him an unexpected practice to feel gratitude for helpful criticism. Someone who points out a real weakness is handing you a map to buried treasure, he explained. They're showing you exactly where you can dig to find new strength. With practice, the apprentice not only improved his pottery, but developed a reputation for being remarkably open to feedback. This drew even more people to his work, as they felt their opinions were valued. The third secret was clear. When you learn to transform criticism, filtering the useful from the harmful and converting challenges into opportunities, you take away criticism's power to disrespect you. Instead, it becomes one of your greatest teachers. Did you know that the very words meant to hurt you could become your greatest teachers? The third powerful secret I want to share with you completely flips how you see criticism. Think about the last time someone criticized you. Did your stomach tighten? Did you want to argue back or run away? That's normal. But the wisest people throughout history have discovered something remarkable. They've learned to mine pure gold from the very words others use as weapons. In a village famous for its beautiful pottery, there lived a master craftsman. His work was sought after by people from far and wide. What made him special wasn't just his skill, but how he handled feedback about his creations. One day, a young apprentice came to study with him. The master gave the apprentice a simple task: to make a teacup and show it to 10 different people in the village marketplace. Write down everything they say about your cup, instructed the master. Don't argue or explain, just listen and record their words. The apprentice worked hard on his cup, feeling proud of his creation. But at the marketplace, the responses weren't what he expected. The handle is too small, said a merchant. The color is dull, commented an elderly woman. It's too heavy, noted a tea server. The rim is uneven, pointed out a fellow potter. Some people were kind in their delivery, others were harsh. By the end of the day, the apprentice returned to the master with slumped shoulders and a list full of criticisms. No one liked my cup, he said sadly. I should just give up. The master smiled gently. Spread out your notes on the table, he instructed. The apprentice did as he was told, laying out all the comments. Now, cross out any criticism given with cruelty rather than care, said the master. The apprentice crossed out several comments that had been delivered with mockery or spite. Next, cross out any that contradict each other. The apprentice noticed that one person said the cup was too thick, while another said it was too thin. He crossed these out too. Now, from what remains, circle the comments that could help you make a better cup. Looking at the remaining notes, the apprentice circled several practical suggestions about the handle shape, the balance of the cup, and the glaze technique. "You see," said the master, "criticism is like ore from the ground. In its raw form, it's just rough rock. But if you know how to process it, you can extract precious metal while discarding the worthless stone." The master explained that criticism falls into 3 categories. Some is valuable and points to real areas for growth. Some is about the critic's personal preferences and has nothing to do with you. And some is simply an expression of the critic's own pain or limitations. "The art," said the master, "is learning to filter what's useful from what's not. Never reject all criticism, for you'll miss opportunities to improve. But never accept all criticism either, for you'll be pulled in conflicting directions." The apprentice learned to listen to criticism with a calm mind, asking himself, "Is there something here I can use to grow?" If yes, he would thank the person and apply the lesson. If no, he would thank them anyway and let their words float away like leaves on a stream. The master also taught him an unexpected practice: to feel gratitude for helpful criticism. "Someone who points out a real weakness is handing you a map to buried treasure," he explained. "They're showing you exactly where you can dig to find new strength." With practice, the apprentice not only improved his pottery, but developed a reputation for being remarkably open to feedback. This drew even more people to his work, as they felt their opinions were valued. The third secret was clear. When you learn to transform criticism, filtering the useful from the harmful and converting challenges into opportunities, you take away criticism's power to disrespect you. Instead, it becomes one of your greatest teachers. What chains are holding you back that you can't even see? As we continue our journey to freedom from disrespect, we arrive at a truth that might surprise you. Many of the rules that control your life were never yours to begin with. The fourth secret to never being disrespected, again, is learning to break free from the invisible prison of social expectations. Those unwritten rules about how you should look, speak, act, and even think. Long ago in a remote mountain region, a small village lived by strict traditions. Every aspect of life followed set patterns, from how people dressed to when they spoke. Those who followed these rules were accepted. Those who didn't faced ridicule and rejection. A wandering monk arrived one day, behaving in ways that puzzled the villagers. He laughed loudly when others were quiet. He sat while others stood. He wore simple clothes when tradition called for elaborate ones. The villagers whispered behind his back. Children pointed and giggled. Some even shouted insults directly at him. Yet the monk remained perfectly at ease, his smile unwavering, his eyes kind. The village elder, troubled by this disruption to their orderly ways, approached the monk. "Don't you know our customs? Don't you care what people think of you?" The monk looked at him with gentle eyes. "I respect your ways, but I don't carry them as my burden. Tell me, if you're walking down a path and find a boulder blocking your way, do you try to carry it with you, or simply walk around it?" "Walk around it, of course," replied the elder. "Exactly," smiled the monk. "The expectations of others are like boulders in your path. You can acknowledge they exist without carrying their weight on your shoulders." This simple insight sparked curiosity in the elder, who invited the monk to stay in his home. Over the following days, the monk shared wisdom about the nature of social expectations. "From our first breath," the monk explained, "we're taught to seek approval and avoid disapproval. Our parents smile when we follow the rules and frown when we don't. Our schools reward conformity and punish difference. Our communities embrace those who fit in and push away those who stand out. But isn't some of this necessary for society to function? Asked the elder. Of course, replied the monk. Respecting others and following laws that prevent harm are essential. But most expectations have nothing to do with preventing harm. They're simply habits that became rules over time. The monk taught the elder to recognize expectations imposed by others versus choices made from his own wisdom. When you dress, speak, or act, ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly believe it's right, or because I fear what others will think if I don't? As days passed, the elder began noticing how many of his choices were driven by fear of judgment rather than genuine preference. He'd been wearing uncomfortable ceremonial robes every day because tradition demanded it, even though simpler clothes would serve better. He'd been speaking formally, even with close friends, because that's what was expected, though it created distance rather than connection. The monk also helped the elder see how fear of judgment kept him from living authentically. When you wear a mask to please others, the monk explained, 3 harms occur. You exhaust yourself maintaining a false image. You attract people who love the mask rather than the person behind it. And you deny the world the gift of your true self. Gradually, the elder began removing unnecessary masks. Though some villagers criticized these changes, he found an unexpected freedom in no longer being controlled by their opinions. Even more surprisingly, many villagers were inspired by his authenticity and began questioning their own adherence to meaningless rules. The monk's final teaching before leaving the village was most powerful. Living free from others' expectations doesn't mean ignoring everyone's needs or opinions. It means learning to hear others without being ruled by them, choosing consciously rather than reacting automatically out of fear. The elder realized that true freedom from disrespect comes when you stop seeing yourself through others' eyes and instead view yourself through the clear lens of your own wisdom. Ever notice how some gardens thrive while others struggle? The secret often lies in something simple yet profound: the garden fence. Too many people live without proper boundaries, then wonder why they feel constantly trampled upon. Our 5th secret to becoming immune to disrespect reveals a beautiful paradox. The kindest people have the clearest boundaries. In the heart of a lush valley stood a garden temple known for its peaceful atmosphere and spectacular flowers. People traveled far to experience its tranquility. The head gardener, an older man with gentle eyes and weathered hands, had tended this garden for over 40 years. One summer, the region faced difficult times. Food became scarce, and desperate people began slipping into the temple garden at night to steal vegetables and flowers to sell. Each morning, the gardener would discover new damage: trampled plants, stolen fruit, and broken branches. The younger monks urged a harsh response. We should build high walls with sharp spikes, post guards with sticks, punish anyone who enters uninvited. The gardener listened quietly, then shook his head. Tomorrow, I will address this, he said simply. The next day, the younger monks were surprised to see the gardener building something, not a fortress, but a simple, beautiful fence with a gate. Above the gate, he hung a sign and placed a large basket filled with vegetables and flowers. That evening, curious locals gathered outside. The sign read, Dear friends, these gardens feed both body and soul. Please use the gate during daylight hours. Take what you need from this basket, which we will fill daily. If you require more, come work alongside us, and you may take home a fair portion of what we grow together. The younger monks were skeptical. They'll take everything and still break in for more. But something unexpected happened. The very next day, several villagers arrived at the gate, not to take from the basket, but to offer help in the garden. Within a week, the nighttime intrusions had stopped completely. One young monk asked the gardener, How did you know this would work? The gardener smiled. People respect clear boundaries that are established with compassion rather than threat. I didn't build the fence to keep people out. I built it to show where the garden begins and to create a proper way to enter. Over the following months, the gardener taught the young monks the art of compassionate boundaries. He explained that boundaries aren't walls of rejection, but rather clear definitions of what is acceptable and what isn't. Think of them as the banks of a river, he said. Without banks, a river becomes a formless puddle. The banks don't restrict the river. They give it definition, direction, and power. The gardener showed them how to establish limits without hostility. When someone crosses your boundary, he explained, you needn't respond with anger. Simply state clearly what happened, why it doesn't work for you, and what you need instead. He demonstrated this when a visitor repeatedly picked flowers despite being asked not to. Instead of getting angry, the gardener approached him calmly and said, I notice you're picking flowers that were growing for everyone to enjoy. When you do this, others cannot experience their beauty. Please enjoy them with your eyes rather than your hands, or I'll need to ask you to leave the garden. The gardener also taught them to communicate boundaries with both clarity and respect. Always be specific about what behavior is crossing your line. Never attack the person's character. And remember, people can't respect boundaries they don't know exist. Perhaps most importantly, the gardener showed them how to maintain inner peace even while enforcing limits. A boundary enforced with anger becomes a weapon. A boundary enforced with calm certainty becomes a teaching. As seasons passed, the temple garden became known not just for its beautiful plants, but for its atmosphere of mutual respect. Visitors and monks alike understood the expectations and felt safer because of them. The garden became a living example of the fifth secret. Compassionate boundaries don't disconnect you from others. They create the conditions for genuine respect to flourish. Picture a tall oak tree standing through a violent storm. While smaller plants are uprooted and branches from other trees snap off, the oak sways but remains standing. Its secret? Deep roots that anchor it firmly to the earth. Our sixth lesson teaches something similar about human strength, developing a presence so deeply rooted within yourself that nothing and no one can shake you. In the mountains far to the north lived a wise teacher known for his remarkable calm. Even in chaotic situations, his steady presence brought peace to those around him. One year, a terrible storm season approached the region, and the teacher invited his students to join him in a small hut on an exposed mountainside. Master, one student asked nervously as dark clouds gathered, why would we stay in such a dangerous place when the storms come? This hut could be destroyed. This is precisely why we're here, the teacher replied calmly. The storm outside will help us understand the storms inside. That night, the weather turned violent. Fierce winds battered the small hut. Rain pounded the roof, and lightning split the sky with blinding flashes. Inside, most students huddled in fear, jumping at each thunderclap. But the teacher sat quietly in meditation at the center of the room, his breathing steady, his posture straight but relaxed. He appeared as solid as a mountain while chaos raged around him. One brave student moved closer and sat beside him. Though still afraid, she tried to match her teacher's posture and breathing. Gradually, she noticed something unexpected. While the storm hadn't changed, her relationship to it had shifted. She still heard the thunder, but no longer jumped. She felt the hut shake, but wasn't shaken within herself. When morning came and the storm passed, the students gathered around their teacher. How did you remain so calm? They asked. I wasn't calm because the storm was absent, he explained. I was calm because I was fully present. When you're half somewhere else, wishing things were different, worrying about what might happen next, reliving what happened before, you lose your foundation in the now. But when you're fully here, you discover a strength that cannot be disturbed. Over the following weeks, the teacher showed his students 4 essential practices for developing unshakable presence. First, he taught them grounding. the art of connecting deeply with the present moment through the body. When you feel yourself becoming unstable, he instructed, bring your attention to the sensation of your feet touching the earth, your breath moving in your chest, the weight of your body. These physical anchors pull you back from the swirling thoughts that make you vulnerable. Second, he taught them to maintain emotional stability in hostile environments. When negativity surrounds you, he explained, imagine it as weather passing through. You acknowledge the clouds without becoming them. When someone speaks harshly, hear the words without absorbing their energy. Let their emotions remain theirs. One student objected, but isn't this just detaching from reality? Not at all, the teacher replied. It's engaging with a deeper reality. You remain open and responsive without being overwhelmed. Like a captain who stays alert during a storm rather than becoming lost in panic. The third practice involves strengthening their inner center of gravity. Each day, the students spent time in meditation, learning to return again and again to their still center, even when distractions arose. The more familiar you become with this inner stillness, the teacher said, the more easily you can find it when chaos surrounds you. Finally, the teacher shared specific meditations for challenging situations. Before entering a difficult conversation, take 3 conscious breaths. When you feel disrespected, notice the sensations in your body without being ruled by them. When uncertainty arises, focus on what remains constant. As the storm season continued, the students practiced these techniques daily. Gradually, they developed a remarkable quality, the ability to remain steady even when everything around them was in turmoil. By the end of the season, when the final storm hit with unexpected intensity, the students sat together in perfect calm. While the wind howled outside, they found an unshakable peace within. Not because they controlled the weather, but because they had discovered how to be the eye of the storm, the still point at the center of movement. The sixth secret had become clear through experience. True strength isn't about hardening yourself against the world, but about being so deeply rooted in your present awareness that nothing can uproot you. Ready to discover the most surprising weapon against disrespect. When someone pushes against you, your first instinct might be to push back harder. But our seventh secret reveals an unexpected truth. Sometimes the strongest response isn't to fight fire with fire, but with something entirely different. The ancient wisdom of radical compassion can transform your most difficult relationships in ways that will astonish you. Along a dangerous mountain pass traveled a feared bandit who robbed anyone who crossed his path. For years, he terrorized travelers, building a reputation so frightening that people would take much longer routes just to avoid him. One day, a renowned teacher decided to take the direct path through the mountain, despite warnings from villagers. As expected, the bandit jumped out from behind the rocks, sword drawn. "Give me everything you have or I'll take your life," the bandit shouted. The teacher looked at him calmly. Instead of showing fear or anger, his eyes filled with genuine tears. "I see you're suffering," he said quietly. The bandit was startled. "What are you talking about?" "I'm not suffering. You're the one about to lose everything. I have very little in my bag," the teacher replied. "But I see that you carry a much heavier burden. The weight of hatred and fear must be exhausting to bear every day." Something in the teacher's voice, not pity, but genuine concern, made the bandit pause. No one had ever looked at him this way before. "What do you know about my life?" The bandit growled, but his sword lowered slightly. "I know that people don't choose paths of harm unless they themselves have been harmed," the teacher said. "I know that behind anger there is almost always pain." The bandit's hand began to tremble. For the first time in years, someone was seeing him. Not just his fearsome appearance or actions, but something deeper. "Sit with me," the teacher offered. "Share some tea. You don't have to say anything, but you don't have to be alone with your pain either." Surprisingly, the bandit sat down. They shared tea in silence as the sun moved across the sky. Before they parted, the teacher said, "I'll take this path again next month. Perhaps we can share tea again." Over many such meetings, the bandit gradually shared his story, how violence in his childhood had taught him that the world was a place where only the strongest and cruelest survived. The teacher listened without judgment, offering a different perspective, not through arguments, but through his compassionate presence. Eventually, the bandit stopped robbing travelers. He began using his intimate knowledge of the dangerous paths to guide people safely through it instead. Years later, when asked about this transformation, the teacher explained the power of radical compassion to his students. "When someone treats you with disrespect," he said, "they're often speaking from their own wound. Understanding this doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it allows you to respond to the person rather than just reacting to their actions." He taught them to look beneath the surface of disrespect, to recognize the suffering that often fuels it. Behind anger is often fear. Behind criticism is often insecurity. Behind cruelty is almost always unhealed pain. One student asked, "But how can we feel compassion for someone who's hurting us?" "Start by practicing when it's easy, with small annoyances," the teacher advised. When someone cuts in front of you in line, instead of assuming they're selfish, consider that perhaps they're rushing to a sick child. Practice seeing their humanity first, their behavior second. He also taught them to transform enemies into teachers. Each difficult person in your life offers a unique lesson. The impatient person teaches you patience. The angry person teaches you calm. The critical person teaches you self-acceptance. Finally, the teacher shared a powerful practice called Tonglen for the most challenging situations. When facing someone's disrespect, breathe in their confusion and pain, then breathe out clarity and relief. This doesn't mean you absorb their negativity. Rather, you transform it, like a filter purifies water. The students found that practicing compassion didn't make them weak or vulnerable as they'd feared. Instead, it gave them a kind of strength they hadn't known before, the ability to stay connected to their humanity, even when others disconnected from theirs. The seventh secret became clear. Radical compassion doesn't excuse disrespect, but it frees you from being controlled by it. When you respond to disrespect with understanding rather than reactivity, you maintain your power while opening a door for genuine transformation. We've climbed the mountain together, learning 7 powerful secrets that free us from the grip of disrespect. But what if I told you there's a view from the summit that changes everything? A perspective so liberating that the entire question of respect and disrespect transforms before your eyes. Our final secret takes us to the heart of ultimate freedom, beyond the endless dance of seeking respect and avoiding disrespect altogether. High in the mountains lived a master known for his puzzling teachings and mysterious smile. Students would journey for weeks just to ask him questions, hoping to receive clear instructions on how to live. But instead of straightforward answers, he often responded with questions or statements that seemed to make no sense at first glance. One day, 2 students arrived at his small hut. One was a celebrated scholar who had received many honors and awards. The other was a disgraced official who had been publicly humiliated and stripped of his position. Both sought the master's wisdom. The scholar spoke first. "Master, I've earned great respect in my field. How can I ensure this respect continues and grows?" The disgraced official spoke next. "Master, I've suffered terrible disrespect. How can I regain the honor I've lost?" The master looked at both men with the same gentle expression. "Come back tomorrow," he said simply. "But first, each of you bring me a handful of water." Confused but obedient, they returned the next day. The scholar proudly presented a beautiful porcelain cup filled with clear spring water. The disgraced official, having no container, cupped his hands together with a small amount of water that dripped through his fingers. The master looked at both offerings and laughed warmly. "You've just witnessed the nature of honor and dishonor. he said. "Look how quickly they slip through your grasp, no matter how tightly you try to hold them." He then led them to a small pond near his hut. "Tell me, does the reflection of the moon in this water add anything to the real moon above? When clouds cover the moon, is the moon itself diminished?" The two men pondered this silently. "The respect or disrespect others show you," continued the master, "is like the reflection of the moon on water. It may accurately mirror something real within you, or it may be distorted by the ripples of others' perceptions. Either way, it is not the real you, just as the reflection is not the real moon." In the days that followed, the master shared with them a teaching that transcended everything they had believed about respect and disrespect. He showed them how both honor and dishonor were ultimately temporary conditions, arising and disappearing like all phenomena. "When you celebrate receiving respect," he explained, "you set yourself up for suffering when it inevitably changes. When you mourn receiving disrespect, you do the same." The master introduced them to the practice of recognizing the transitory nature of all interactions. "Watch how opinions form, last for a time, then dissolve," he instructed. "Someone praises you on one day, criticizes you the next, then forgets you entirely the day after. Which of these moments is the real you?" "None of them, and all of them." The disgraced official objected, "But my public humiliation feels very real and permanent." "Look closer," the master replied. "Even in moments of greatest shame, notice how the feeling shifts from minute to minute, sometimes burning hot, sometimes cooling, sometimes momentarily forgotten when a bird sings or your stomach growls. Nothing remains fixed, not even our most painful experiences." He also taught them to find freedom beyond the need for approval. "Imagine living without constantly checking whether others admire or reject you," he said. "Imagine acting from your deepest wisdom rather than from hope for praise or fear of criticism." The scholar struggled with this idea. "But without the respect of my peers, what would motivate my work?" "Perhaps you might discover something more genuine, the joy of the work itself. The service it provides, the truth it reveals," answered the master. "These motivations don't fluctuate with others' opinions." Finally, the master showed them how to bring this non-dual understanding into everyday relationships. "This doesn't mean becoming cold or detached," he clarified. "Actually, you become more genuinely connected when you're not constantly calculating how each interaction affects your status." As weeks passed, both men began experiencing profound shifts. The scholar found himself working with greater creativity and joy, once freed from constantly protecting his reputation. The disgraced official discovered that his painful experience had opened his heart to others in unexpected ways. Before they departed, the master offered one final insight. True freedom isn't found in perfect respect or in the absence of disrespect. It's found in your relationship to whatever arises. When respect and disrespect no longer dictate your sense of worth, you've discovered the ultimate liberation. You've now discovered all 8 ancient secrets that can free you from disrespect forever. These aren't just philosophical ideas. They're practical tools that have transformed countless lives throughout history. Think about which of these secrets resonated most deeply with you. Was it the power of non-reaction? The art of setting compassionate boundaries? Or perhaps the ultimate freedom of moving beyond the whole game of seeking respect and avoiding disrespect? The journey we've taken together today is just the beginning. These teachings take time to integrate into your daily life, and each time you practice them, you'll discover new depths of wisdom within yourself. If you found value in these teachings, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Each week, we share similar ancient wisdom that can transform your life in practical, powerful ways. The subscribe button is right below this video. And if you know someone who struggles with feeling disrespected, a friend, family member, or colleague who might benefit from these 8 secrets, please share this video with them. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give others is a new perspective that frees them from unnecessary suffering. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, remember that true respect begins within, and no one can take away your inner worth unless you give them permission to do so. Subscribe now and join our community of seekers exploring timeless wisdom for modern life.